So I wanted to make a little video sharing some of my story and how I got into working with clinics, how I came to discover video systems and why it's so important to me. So for the first 4 to 5 years of running my video marketing company, things were going okay, but they were never really going great. I am incredibly grateful to have a business that provides for me and my family. I am incredibly blessed. I love what I do. And still, it always felt like this revolving door. I was working insane hours, constantly having to drive in new demand, and my approach was always focused on the product, which isn't a bad thing, but I was neglecting any systems on the back end. I was so obsessively focused on quality of video that I was effectively just delivering one-off videos to clients, never really considering a new approach. Prior to this, I spent 10 plus years as a trainer and nutrition coach, so it's kind of like hiring a personal trainer for one day and expecting to achieve incredible results. It's never going to work. I was proud of the work that I did, and I genuinely enjoyed the relationships that I was able to establish and build. I've worked with some amazing companies, amazing clients, but it was never anything that felt like it was taking root. Nothing ever felt consistent. It was never broken, but it was also never really stable. And of course, I'd be lying if I said it was never frustrating. There were ebbs and flows, and as the sole provider for my family, that inconsistency weighed on me heavily. And what made things worse is no matter how hard I worked, I was always having to start over in the same place at the very beginning, every single month. The hardest part wasn't even the income swings. It was the feeling that nothing was ever stable. Nothing was ever lasting. I realized at a certain point that I hadn't been building a business. I had just bought myself a job, one that was incredibly demanding and took more of my time than any other job I'd ever had before. Looking back on it now, it feels kind of obvious. I already believed that video was a very powerful tool to plug into a business, but I was really only using fragments of its potential, never really using the entirety of what it can do for a business. So it was around this time that AI and tools like ChatGPT just took off and gained popularity. And I, like most, went down the rabbit hole, far and deep down the rabbit hole. And I had convinced myself that during this time, my issues were on the pre-production process of just time management, efficiency, and planning, and strategy, and all of these things. I never considered the back end, which we'll get to. So I assumed that if I just created this tool using AI to consolidate down the pre-production process, to essentially work as a creative strategist, ideation partner, a chief marketing officer. If I could just build an AI tool that would operate with all of these roles, I would effectively have an assistant that could just collapse the timeline down in the strategy phase, in the pre-production process. So admittedly, I wasted about 8 to 9 months tinkering with these no-code builders and trying to make my own micro SaaS, assuming that would be the solution to my business problems. I was even convinced that my ideal target market for video was the startup space for software companies, for SaaS companies. I created a podcast called Hey, Nice SaaS, which I still think is a pretty clever name, but it just wasn't for me. This space, this industry, I knew nothing about it before these 9 months of wasted effort, and I was just forcing myself into a space that wasn't meant for me. I was trying to become someone that I'm not. Thankfully, I realized it after a while, and things kind of took shape. And it was around this time that Justin and I reconnected. We'd worked together many years ago as personal trainers when I lived in Tennessee, so I knew him from a while back, and he was already creating content consistently. He already knew who he was speaking to. He knew the topics he was speaking on. He was doing a phenomenal job with content. His main focus was just buying back some of his time. So our early conversations, they didn't center around strategy or creativity. They centered around systems and efficiency. And that's when all of these things took shape for me. It became more evident that systems are what create leverage. Video works best when it's in a system, not as just a one-off luxury where you're putting all of your hopes and expectations into that one video to be a grand slam. But when you're creating something of a foundation and sustainably over time, letting it compound. Video is amazing. It can help onboard new patients. It can generate new demand and new lead flow. It can help onboard new team members and new staff. It can deepen your rapport and relationships with existing and new patients, and much, much more. But those are just to name a few. And you can see that these things start to work collectively and they build something much larger than the sum of their parts. Before this realization, my content, my approach to video kind of felt a bit like Frankenstein's monster, stitching together all of these different things that I had heard the experts say that you needed to do with video. And as a result, nothing ever worked. It never really felt like my own. So I took a step back because I wanted to have content that I was proud of, content that meant something to someone, content that felt like it mattered. And once I started to look at video in this way, I started to see some patterns. The same thing kept showing up. Good intentions, great operators, plenty of effort, but no system to support it. Video, when treated as a system, becomes a way to share values and expertise and a bridge to building trust, establishing rapport, creating a brand, creating a space, a community for those whom the videos are intended. So why clinic owners? It was around the time that Justin and I started to hit our stride in a working cadence that I started to develop more of an interest. As we're creating content and he's sharing, symptoms, common issues, common challenges that people are facing before starting TRT, I just kept hearing my own experiences show up. And, my stubbornness and hill dragging went on long enough. And around this time, I've added a few more clients who are in the same space, hormone optimization, men's wellness clinics. So I began my own TRT journey. So having worked with Justin, having worked with several other clients in the space, beginning this journey myself and hearing all the wins, I can't help but be excited about this movement, this direction, just a better option for optimizing one's health. And all of these things took shape, and I'm so grateful they did, because now I'm able to use what I've learned and experienced over this trajectory, over these several 6+ years now, and plug it into your clinic. Plug it into the way you approach video content so that you can reach more people. You can build that authority. You can build the trust and rapport, and you can start to give them what they so desperately need. And not to sound melodramatic, but maybe look at it as you have a moral obligation to a lot of these people that are still living in those pains and those challenges in those less than ideal circumstances because they haven't yet optimized their hormones or they haven't yet got the care that you can provide. And video, when approached as a system, is a phenomenal tool to start to leverage so that you can reach them and you can support them and you can help them get to where they need to be. So another reason I wanted to share this is because if you feel like you're in that scattered space where you haven't found your stride, you haven't found your voice, you haven't found your style with content, or maybe it's just all a little intimidating and overwhelming. So if you're in that place, let me just say there's nothing wrong with you. You just lack a system that supports what you're trying to accomplish. So that's a bit about my story and how I got to be working with clinics and how I discovered video systems. I hope sharing it has helped in some way, maybe fast tracking your approach to starting to implement video systems into your clinic. And I'm excited to see the videos you continue to create. Thanks.